there's one thing that I have not done enough on this channel. Let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, this little thing from Axios went viral this past weekend. And of course, there was also another incident involving a plane that, let's just say, had some mechanical issues. And of course, to go on top of those mechanical issues, we're finding out the reason why this was the case was because of quality control. Now, I want to say this, and I want to go ahead and say this. I'll be very clear on this. I am very, very much against any form of affirmative action hiring, okay? If you are qualified for a job, then guess what? You are qualified for said job. The thing is this right here. Your race, your gender, whatever, sex, whatever the hell term they want to use nowadays, which of course I still go by sex primarily, but this is YouTube, and you got to kind of include that to keep yourself from getting in trouble. Let's just put it this way here. That right there really and truly should not matter in the hiring process, but still at the same time, qualifications and overall experience should. Making me think that DEI is probably going to be the death of us all. And of course, many people who are looking at this situation, they're just now responding to it. However, I'm going to tell you guys right now that the FFA has been pushing this for a very long time. It's actually been happening a lot longer than recently. And I want to give you an example of what I mean. Do you guys remember that little incident where the that little submarine went down to look at the Titanic, and of course it ended up crashing and those guys died? Well, come to find out, half of that entire crew were diversity hires. Just figure I'd throw that out there. So this clip that I'm about to show you, which of course has gone viral, this right here is going to be a blight on the airline industry. And I mean, it's going to be a massive blight on the airline industry. It's probably going to lead to accidents, deaths, possible mechanical failures, and of course, it's also going to lead to lawsuits. So go ahead and join me on this right as we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and why this right here is just going to ultimately become a mess.
Diversity and diversity targets working into the Aviate Academy?
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. Today, only 19% of our pilots at United Airlines are women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country.
White males don't just dominate in the cockpits, also in the C-suite at United Airlines.
Well, look, at United, I'm proud of the diversity that we actually have in our C-suite. I think if you look around corporate America.
Correct me if I'm saying, though, so this was just based off your website, the people you list as executives, but out of 11 people, 3 are women. I believe 1 is a person of color.
That's correct. But, you know, in corporate America, I think, you know.
That's a low bar. How do you raise your own bar?
Well, a lot of this is, you know, focusing on it. We have programs to, one of the things we do is for every job when we're doing an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process, bringing people in early in their careers as well, and giving them those opportunities and creating.
So you heard that. Now, guys, I say you heard that because I may have had to put a header on this at the time of editing because this video, of course, is coming out on Tuesday, and I'm, of course, making this video on Monday afternoon. I think I've explained in a previous video why it is that the Monday of the, let's just put it this way here, that Monday is going to be my writing day going forward because we are about to get in a position to where we're going to start having all kinds of commotion around this apartment complex, at least until October of this coming year. That's going to start in the month of February because it does begin to warm up. Not that much. February is actually pretty daggone cold, but the groundskeepers people, they are out here in this apartment complex, and I don't think I'm going to be leaving here for another year. So obviously that's got to do with shifting my content into more essay format, which of course there'll be some on the way, a lot more on the way, but still that being said, let's get back on topic. The thing is this right here, you got to ask yourself a question. Do you want somebody who's not qualified doing an operation on you? Do you want somebody not qualified flying a plane? I mean, think about this really quick. Do you want a C student or a D student at Harvard, which, by the way, if you remember correctly, there was this whole great big giant hoopla about affirmative action being gotten rid of at the collegiate level. I think they should just get rid of affirmative action altogether. Do you think that it's a good idea to put somebody who's not qualified for the job to take care of something that, quite frankly, they're not qualified for? I mean, think about it really quick. I mean, the last thing I want is I want a retail worker doing brain surgery on me. I mean, and I'm not saying that to insult the retail workers, especially given the fact that I've worked retail. I'm trying to take my time for this video, but still at the same time, though, I don't think I want somebody who's not qualified for the job not working on me. Now, granted, I understand there are some people out there, like, for example, there are auto mechanics out there who never got ASE certified, but they know everything there is to know about an engine. That right there is the guy down the road. That right there is the jack of all trades you call in a pinch, okay? This is a little bit different. You're traveling, you're flying, you're thousands of miles above the above the earth. The last thing you want is somebody who's not qualified. Now, if you actually look at this New York Post article, which I'll link in the description box, you will see that it's also extending to the mentally handicapped. It's also extending to those who, quite frankly, have intellectual disabilities. Now, the thing about intellectual disabilities, and I've got to throw in my recreational therapy experience before I go any further. It's true that there are people out there who are autistic. As a matter of fact, I actually think I was diagnosed with a form of autism when I was like 13 years old, Asperger's syndrome, ADHD, but of course I eventually got conditioned and grew out of it. That does not mean that a person is not good with numbers. Does not mean that a person can't do something like, say, pharmacy technician or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. Some people, of course, who are autistic or whatnot can actually do a job and they can actually do it perfectly. I think that's a separate case. But if you've got someone who's obviously, let's just say, has a Down syndrome, not trying to pick on anybody with Down syndrome, and I understand somebody may say that, okay, these cases right here are going to be like janitors, flight line directors, which I think is a big red flag. Probably shouldn't even said that. Grounds crew, stuff like that. Okay. In some cases, I can understand that. The one that really and truly baffles me, though, is the ones who have mental illnesses. They're the ones that I think I would be less inclined to put on, and of course, the people who are being hired based on the color of their skin. We have a diversity hire vice president right now. That's not working out too good. We have a diversity hire press secretary. She's the worst press secretary we've ever had. We have a diversity hire Department of Transportation head. This guy right here is the absolute worst person that we've ever had in this position. It's been an absolute disaster. It's been a nightmare. What I'm saying is that if you're not qualified for the job, you don't need to be doing said job, okay? You don't need to be doing that. You need to be nowhere near said job. I don't want a D student doing brain surgery on me, a guy who only got through college because of the diversity reasons. I don't want somebody like that operating on my heart, and I damn sure don't want them traveling me across the world, okay? Like I said before, in some cases, somebody may be autistic, they may be very good with numbers or whatnot. They can work a certain job and be perfectly fine with that. However, you don't hire somebody with dwarfism to pull stuff off the top shelf at a Walmart, okay? You just don't do that, okay? There's not a lot of common sense here, and of course, it's going to lead to lawsuits, which we'll get to here in a second. But there's something else, too, that does, in fact, need to be said. There has already been one incident that happened here recently where, let's just say, DEI has been called into question over said incident. Let's roll this.
Fuselage for the MAX is made by Wichita-based Spirit Aerosystems, then delivered to Boeing for final assembly.
We're not going to point fingers there because, yes, it escaped their factory, but then it escaped ours, too.
Spirit has also struggled with quality control problems, but says, as a company, we remain focused on the quality of each aircraft structure that leaves our facilities. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg.
Are you concerned about the quality of product that Boeing is turning out, and should the American public be concerned?
What I'll say is that every plane that they deliver to an airline, every plane that goes into the skies needs to be 100% safe, and they need to be able to demonstrate that.
Tom, we've talked about those warning lights that went off on that very same Alaska Airlines plane. Is there any determination on whether that was connected to the part that blew off?
Right now, the NTSB doesn't think so. They think that those warnings were not related to the actual decompression explosion. While the primary sensor gave a warning, the secondary system showed no problem at all. Still, this is going to be part of the investigation, but right now they don't think that they were linked. They think it's a coincidence.
Oh, interesting. Okay, Tom, thank you.
We were not the only ones to report about it here. Obviously, the foreign press got a hold of this. Now, guys, this is where it came from Bloomberg, but this is obviously Bloomberg's international arm. It's a little bit difficult to hear, but I'm going to play it for you guys anyway, so that way you guys can kind of see, and then we'll talk more about it in a second.
So some of these grounded planes are turning up potentially more problems that could allude to the installation of these doors.
That's right. So what United Airlines has come out and said is they've found some loose bolts in some of the planes that they've already conducted preliminary inspections on. Now, in terms of the full inspections that need to be done, that is going to take quite some time, because what the FAA has come out and said is that you know, for carriers to return these jets back into service, they have to do full inspections, obviously, of the bolts, the fasteners on both the right and the left-hand sides of these mid-cabin aft doors, and that is going to take some time. United has said that it's probably going to take 5 technicians working for several hours on each jet. Boeing has said, well, fortunately, the types of bolts that have been in question with the Alaska Airlines incident are only found on that MAX 9 jet, not on the other family of MAX jets. But even so, with those sort of delays in returning the fleets to full service, I think you can expect to see quite significant flight, rescheduling requirements in the US for potentially days to come, or weeks even.
And it's also interesting seeing how other, parts of industry are responding, right? We heard from Emirates.
That's right. So Emirates, Tim Clark came out the other day and said, this is really more of the same for Boeing. They've had several quality control issues, and this is just another one,
Other airliners are beginning to catch on to this. Emirates is beginning to catch on to this. Boeing is obviously going through this. Spirit is obviously going through this. United is obviously going through this. At some point in time, Continental, U.S. Airways, who else? Delta. They are all dabbling into this stuff. So obviously people are going to be a little bit scared to hop on planes. Now, the thing that you got to understand about this situation is that, in fact, this right here appears to be crappy work. The last thing I would want is for a door to come off mid-flight. That's extremely dangerous right there on its own. But think about something really quick. You guys obviously heard that. Quality control obviously failed. Now, I can already hear somebody saying, well, you didn't mention quality control earlier. Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about quality control now. Why do you have quality control? You have quality control because somebody needs to inspect the parts. Somebody obviously needs to inspect the situation. Somebody obviously needs to inspect the bolts, the nuts, everything. Somebody needs to inspect to make sure things are in the right place. Everybody needs to do that. That's why quality control is so important. We oftentimes forget about quality control. Did you guys know that if you work at a food processing plant, or if you work at, say, I don't know, like I worked at a long time ago, a place like, say, a farm where you've actually got a bunch of sweet potatoes coming in, you got to actually inspect those things, okay? You don't want to put this bad crap on the shelf. It could lead to sanitary problems. People could get sick, of course. People could maybe take advantage and say, well, I'm going to buy them because they're cheaper right now. They're on sale. You don't want things that don't make quality control make it. And that right there is another one of the concerns with DEI, which, of course, we'll talk more about in eventual videos. But the overall lowering of standards is also another problem here, and we've already experienced this with police departments, which we'll do in another video at a later date. But people are acting like this entire issue, of course, is recent, when in reality, it's actually been going on for a few years. This right here is a very, very quick piece from The Five. It was released 2 years ago, right after the whole DEI push really and truly went into high gear. Pay very, very close attention all the way through, especially when you get to the very end. Pete Hegseth does a very good job of explaining why it is that this right here could be an extremely bad idea.
Pushing diversity for new pilots. The company wants to train 5,000 of them over the next decade, and is promising at least half will be women or people of color. United would also be taking on applicants with no flying experience, which means I'm there. I'm going to go to you first, Pete, because you're you look like you're a pilot. I feel like when I get on a plane, you're the person.
How sexist is that?
What?
How sexist is that?
No, it's also
you
racist.
Look like the pilot.
It's sexist and racist. But you know what the thing is, Pete? I don't think this is a bad goal. This doesn't sound bad to me. It's just that you never should tamper with the system, or lower a standard to reach the numbers you want. Isn't that just common sense?
I agree. You don't want me flying anything, Greg. I would love to fly with you. I wouldn't put my life in your hands in that situation. But here's what I want to work by 2030. I want my Wi-Fi to work. I want them to lose my bag less. I want less delays, and I want to get to where I'm going quicker. I want every plane to stay in the sky, regardless of whether the pilot is a male or female and the passengers are males or females. It doesn't matter to me. What's the best business decision for United? And that's not what's going into this. And here's the problem. It can be a nice goal, Greg, as you talked about. I'm all for people from different backgrounds. But my experience with bureaucracies or big companies is that once you set a quota or a percentage, meeting that quota becomes more important than the performance goals and the outcomes. And pretty soon you start hedging on who qualifies, who doesn't. Did they pass this? Did they not pass that? Regardless of gender and skin color and all of that. That's not where you want to be focused. You want the best people, especially when it comes to getting people from A to B in the air.
Yeah, quotas and goals. Okay, quotas and goals seem like a good thing at first. The problem is that when you're aiming for quotas, eventually just all the hell you're going to care about. Quality is very important. Okay, quality control. You've got to be able to make sure everything is good to go. You got to have good overall quality when it comes to everything. Think about something really quick. Go back to what I said earlier. You don't want somebody who is a D student operating on your brain. You want to have the best surgeon you can get doing that. You want to have the best doctor. Next thing you know, you get medical malpractice and you get medical malpractice lawsuits. Not only do you get medical malpractice lawsuits, but you get a lot of people dead. I mean, dude, good lawyers can actually, good doctors are there to save lives. Good doctors can save lives. Let me also say something else too. As anti the teachers union as I am, especially the way it's going, good teachers can do wonders for a child. Great teachers are something that we need. Doesn't matter what political affiliation they are. But right now, we've also got diversity, equity, inclusion in some of the schools. I don't know about you guys, but diversity, equity, inclusion just seems like a great big giant sham that's just going to get people hurt. It's going to get people sued. And ultimately, people are going to get killed as a result of it. But about those lawsuits, well, there was a lawsuit that was filed recently. I may have to put a header over this one right here too because it comes from WGN and they have copyright claiming before, but here we go.
Megan Dwyer joining us now with the story. Megan. Micah, this is a 50-year-old woman from Oak Park. She initially filed this complaint with the EEOC and says she did not speak up, at least not right away, because she was scared of being retaliated against.
Antoinette Ivey was a manager of diversity and inclusion within the Human Resources Department at United Airlines. In her lawsuit filed this week, she claimed she was the only black manager in the diversity department and all of her bosses were white. She argues despite good reviews for 9 years at the company, she was fired in November 2019 after complaining she was being treated differently because of her race. In her lawsuit filed in federal court, she describes a video her boss played in a meeting as being derogatory and racist. A stereotyped portrayal of an African-American man as being angry, speaking poor English, and bullying coworkers to get his way. The white people in the room, she says, laughed while she felt embarrassed and disrespected. She also says a senior leader at the airline instructed that internal demographics be changed to make it appear United was doing better with diversity hiring efforts than they actually were. She claims an employee refused to make the change, saying it's unethical to change someone's race. But race data information was still altered for select executive leaders.
I know I said lawsuits earlier, and you guys obviously heard that, but there's something else, too, that diversity, equity, inclusion, and affirmative action ultimately creates. It's called jealousy. You see, a big part of me thinks that diversity, equity, inclusion is a sham simply for the pure result of actually, causing more and more division. You're giving people benefits, you're giving people a job that, quite frankly, they don't deserve. That right there is the biggest problem with diversity, equity, inclusion. Think about it really quick. You scored higher on the test than the other guy, but because the other guy had a different shade of skin tone, next thing you know, this guy gets the job and you do not, even though his qualifications were nowhere near yours. By the way, YouTube's probably going to come out here and want a yellow dollar sign this video, but I'm doing this right to make a point. So YouTube, please chill out with that. The thing is this right here, you're creating more and more jealousy right off the bat by doing this. Did you guys kind of see where it was in those immigration videos where it was that I talked about the fact that you had people, black people in particular, who live in Chicago and Philadelphia and New York, who are already starting to get upset because the migrants that are being brought in are getting more benefits than them? Have you noticed how it is that one political party loves to pander a lot more to another group than another? As you see, after a while, it's even going to breed jealousy amongst the Rainbow Coalition and amongst the identity politics section. Lawsuits, of course, are going to occur, and of course, some of these people are going to be successful, especially in very, very liberal courts, very liberal districts. But at the same time, the only thing it serves to do is just divide everybody across lines. It just pits everybody in different positions. However, at some point in time, you're going to start seeing those who are of the alphabet community start going after those who are in the B community, and then those in the B community will start going after those in the H/L community. Next thing you know, everybody's going to be fighting one another. And that right there leaves a lot of people who, quite frankly, did not ask for this, who may need surgery one day on an extremely important part of their body, who may get screwed over due to medical malpractice because they chose to obviously go with a diversity hire rather than somebody who, quite frankly, was qualified for the job. Or it could lead to a bunch of people getting into an airplane crash because the guy who's obviously flying at this moment in time can't actually see or can't hear. Think about it really quick. People could also get killed because somebody has a mental freak out while they're on a plane. I understand medication, but still at the same time, these things do in fact occur. Fact of the matter is that diversity, equity, inclusion is nothing more than a great big giant joke. Is all the hell it is, meant to divide the masses. And with that right there, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hold up this video right here and make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I'm going to try to have a relatively big one out on Wednesday, and it's probably going to be 2 videos that day because one's going to go on Gear Issue 33 and one's going to go here. I want to take a look at all the news reports and everything that's going on with the situation in Yemen and what it could lead to. Not to mention there was a YouTuber, of course, named Gonzalo Lira. The guy was Coach Red Pill, who was killed in his cell this past weekend in Ukraine. Even though I'm a few days late on that one, I'm going to be talking about that in that case too. So make sure you guys stick around for both. You guys can follow me here on Facebook. You guys can follow me here on Twitter. You can also, at the exact same time, also follow me on Gear Issue 33. I'll leave a link in the description box or the comment section. Probably a video for you guys to watch. It more than likely will be the first Blood film review. Make sure you guys go check it out. Please hit the like button on that one too. Also, something else too. If you catch the post on Facebook, please hit the like on the actual post itself too, so that way it'll go up the algorithm as well. And with that right there being said, I will see you guys later. I'll be right back hard at it on Wednesday. These videos are, of course, will be on Tuesday. And with that right there being said, see you later.